Come join us for our spiritual mindfulness moment. I'm Paul, otherwise known as Pastor Paul, and this is our time of introspection and prayer together, and just a time to hang out and connect. So I invite you to come join. And love it when you join, if you let me know where you're joining from. And so what we do here is we'll spend some time of reflection, some meditative practices. We'll talk a little bit from the Christian Bible, but you don't have to be Christian to join us. And we'll just spend some time together working on our well-being together. And then I'll let you get off on your day. After we finish, I usually take some time and answer questions and chat with everybody. And so that's what we do. So you're welcome to join. And I'm glad you're with us. We're on TikTok and YouTube today. So welcome to both of you. Just let me know where you're joining from if you're here, and we'll get started in just a moment. I like to have some relaxing music going in the background and have my candle lit. I have my prayer beads that just sort of help me focus in on where I'm going for the day. And I just love to hang out with you guys. So let me know where you're joining from today if you can. Sometimes I know YouTube is a little bit funky in allowing us to comment. Heron, Illinois, for Mary Colleen Hayes. I don't know where Heron, Illinois is. I've never heard of that before. Let me guess, suburb of Chicago, exurb of Chicago. Yeah, so thank you guys for the likes. Hi, Anna from NYC. Well, I hope you guys are here to say hi and join me for my spiritual mindfulness moment. I do this every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific. I think that's morning for most of you that will be on here with me. And it's our time of spiritual connection and just communing with one another. Nope, 5 hours south of Chicago. All right, Mary, I guessed wrong. So I'll just wait a few more minutes and then we'll get started here. But just get yourself really comfortable. Get a cup of coffee if that helps you get going in the morning. And let's just think about what it feels like to connect our hearts together, our spirits together this morning, and communing with each other and with heaven in a contemplative moment. Breathe, make sure you're relaxed. Anywhere you feel tension in your body. Sometimes people like to have a notepad nearby. So if a thought of like, oh, I've got to do this when I get to work today, you can just write a quick note to yourself and then let that go and just be present to the moment of mindfulness together. Yeah, so glad you're with me on TikTok. Glad you're with me on YouTube. I'm just going to wait 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. I have my God is not mad at you t-shirt on today. God is not mad at you. And that's my mantra, that God is not mad at you. And if you're somebody that says, well, I don't believe in God, then good. Then he can't be mad at you. And if you're a Christian that says God is mad at you, you're wrong. Imre says, how can I have a better relationship with God? You know, I think some of it starts with what we do here today of figuring out that God's not this angry beast in heaven looking down, wanting to throw lightning and kill us if we just don't, by the skin of our teeth, do just the right things to be just the right Christian. I think really learning what it is to have relationship with the divine spirit of heaven, that God is not who we've been told God is. That's, to me, first learning the real character of God, of the spirit of heaven, the spirit that's the creator over the universe. Very different than the God we've been taught about through Christian teaching and particularly evangelical teaching. So learning who God is, I think, is the first step. And we can talk more about that after our mindfulness moment. But let's go into our time of mindfulness together now. And again, if you're just joining, I would love for you to let me know where you're joining from. share this with somebody who might need to have a restorative moment of hope and of mindfulness and connection. Because one thing that I talk about in my teaching, the coaching that I do with coaching clients, is what does okay look like? What does it look like to be okay? Hi, Texas. Hi, Minnesota on TikTok. How can I be okay on my worst day? And how can I be okay on my best day? And keep all of those together. Seville, Spain. Wow. Thank you for joining. And so one way we do that is just to start to sense where there's tension in our physiology. And our physiology, our spirit, mind, and body are all connected together. And so where there's tension in our body, it's generally speaking to something that's going on mentally or spiritually that's a little out of alignment with who we are or who God is or where we're going. So we just feel our way through those in a meditative moment. So just think about, where is there tension in your body today? Take a deep breath and do a physical inventory. Sit well supported in your seat so that it takes care of the parts of your body that are okay, and just start to say, where am I feeling that tension? And I always get tension right here, or I get tension in my lungs and trouble breathing. Okay, what am I feeling when those moments come? And how do I start to let that anxiousness about work or about my family, my kids, my spouse, how do I let that go and start to reach for my best self so I can walk well through those situations? So have you done it? Have you done a physical inventory? As we go into a time of mindfulness together, think about, how can I let that anxiety go so that my neck, my breathing, the tension can be set aside for the moment. There will be plenty of time in the day to deal with that, but let's have a time of setting it aside, saying, okay, I just really want to focus on my well-being right now. Letting go of the tension, letting go of the worry of the day, for just this moment being connected with me and with each other on this feed. Saying, okay, I'm going to risk being okay at this moment. So I'm going to read a passage from the Bible, the Christian Bible. And again, you don't have to be Christian to join with me in this. I'm not trying to coerce you into any religion. I work from the tradition of my religious faith. And I think that can connect into all belief systems, at least if I truly believe God is as big as I claim God is. I kind of wonder sometimes how Christians can claim they have this big, amazing, gracious God, and then he's doesn't seem very big and very gracious. So I'm going to read John 3:17. And on forward a little bit. It says, we know John 3:16 is the very famous "for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son" verse that everybody quotes, and then we forget. So Kristen says, I felt the need to take a step back on your page for myself mentally. Okay, dear. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only Son of God. And this is the judgment. The light came into the world, and people loved the darkness rather than the light, because their works were evil. For everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. But whoever does what is true comes to the light, so that it may clearly be seen that his works have been carried out in God. So my Christian friends would say, what this is saying is you either accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, or you're living in darkness and evil. But I believe if you take it to the context of first century Jewish writing, it's saying something very different. It's saying the work of heaven, the work of God has accomplished the work of restoring relationship between heaven and earth, between God and humanity, if you will. That has been accomplished, and we get the choice. And Jesus was the example of saying, let me show you what it looks like to be connected as a human being to the God of heaven. And Jesus demonstrated that through nights of prayer and meditation on the side of the mountain, through loving people selflessly. And we get our choice to believe that we get to be connected to heaven, walk in the light, believe in the example that Jesus set, or we can walk in darkness and believe, like the religious people of the day did, that you have to earn the right to connect to heaven through following a set of rules. Jesus said, all the rules are gone. The law has been fulfilled. That human construct of law and rules has been fulfilled on the cross. It's finished. There are no more rules. Now it's how do you walk in connection and relationship with each other and with heaven? And the rules are this: love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Be connected to heaven, be connected to each other, live for the common good of all. And that's going to take care of all of this. Yes, I am broadcasting on YouTube. So today we're going to walk in the light of knowing this God of heaven isn't about condemning us for not following a set of rules, but to sozo us. Jesus wasn't sent into the world to condemn the world, but to sozo it, to restore it, body, mind, and soul. That's what the word salvation in the New Testament, sozo, actually means. To be restored, body, mind, and soul. To be restored as you were meant to be at creation, to be reconnected to heaven, knowing you don't need any intermediary to be able to connect to God. Yeah, S-O-Z-O, sozo. So there is no condemnation anymore. That's man-created religion. But what Jesus came to bring was the light of understanding that the connection to heaven has already occurred, and all we have to do is believe that it's available to us. And I use the example of air conditioning. I don't have to pray a prayer to the air conditioning in the room. I don't have to commit my life to a religion following the air conditioning in the room. I can just have the knowledge of like, oh, the room is cool because we have air conditioning. Yeah, I've read Revelation many times, Robin, and the way Christians read it is very, very wrong. So we learn to live in the atmosphere that's already been created by God. So guys, I appreciate that you have your opinions, and we're in a time of connecting together in mindfulness. And so now's not the time to be arguing about what is Christian. And we're not about converting people. This is about being together and being connected with each other and to heaven. So just please be honoring of that. So let's go into some mindfulness time together. Relaxing in your seat. And I like to have my prayer beads, and I just think about each individual bead as, who am I praying for today? Who am I connecting to? And I think of all of you and the comments I see on the screen on TikTok and YouTube, Anna over on YouTube. Sorry, guys, let me mute somebody here. We're just not having these arguments right now, guys. I'll have some time for talking at the end. If you want to go to YouTube, you go to my bio, click on the link tree. It'll give you the link to my YouTube channel. So let's imagine, what would it be like to be connected with each other? And just feel your spirit being able to connect to mine and to each other here in this moment. What would it feel like to not be alone in your spirit right now? And people from all over the country being connected together, from Spain even being connected together right now. Just take a deep breath and relax, letting that tension go, connecting to one another. Even Ireland, it's beautiful. And now what would it feel like for all of us together then to feel that connection and love of heaven together? Imagine God as you picture God, or the spirit that's bigger than the universe. An all-loving, a spirit that knows everything about you and loves you incredibly, deeply, and without hesitation. What does that feel like to have that love? That Jesus wasn't about condemning the world, but sozoing it, reconnecting it to its original purpose, and giving it free rein to touch the divine of heaven. Feeling your spirit connected with people around you. Don't get distracted by comments on the screen or things going on around you, noises outside the house. Just concentrate on this connection. So in your imagination, picture yourself now in your quiet, safe space. And what would it feel like to be in the presence of God, if you will, or heaven? Just sense right now being connected to one another and our spirits being able to connect to heaven. Some of you may want to just close your eyes for this moment so you're not distracted by things on the screen. Just picture yourself in a really safe space. What would it feel like? What would it look like for the spirit of heaven, the divine spirit overall, to join you in that space? God may look like the traditional Christian God you've known, of a patriarchal father who really, really loves you and is all loving and brings safety and protection and identity. That God may not be accessible to you or safe to you. And you may want to see God as just the spirit of love and energy and hope. I welcome you just to sit with God, who would present itself, themselves to you in whatever way is safe and empowering to you. There's real power in connecting our spirits together and connecting our corporate spirit with heaven. And it gives us access to freedom, safety, and wisdom beyond ourselves. So Jesus didn't come into the world to condemn you. The story of Jesus is not about making you feel condemned. So I want you to sit with this loving presence of God today and say, I'm not condemned. I'm not condemned. Every bit of everything I've done that's brought shame in my life is washed away by this idea of God's overwhelming, loving presence, God's overwhelming, loving joy of me. So I just want you to speak that over yourself in the presence of this connection of our spirits and with heaven. I'm not condemned. I'm okay. I don't have to feel guilty for what I've done anymore. And you may think of something like, oh man, I did that and I hurt that person. Write that on your notepad or kind of set that aside and say, I'm going to revisit that person because I'm powerful and forgiven and unashamed. And so I can go clean that mess up. But I'm going to worry about that later. Right now, I just want to sit in this moment where I'm free from all guilt and all condemnation. And the Bible says that we can, through our connection, forgive each other and pronounce forgiveness in this understanding that all of that has already been accomplished. The air conditioning has already changed the atmosphere of the room. We're just starting to understand what that means for us as human beings. And so I just say to you today, you are not guilty. You are not condemned. The condemnation of religion is brought by men, by human beings, not by God. So say it again. Picture yourself sitting with the presence of God, the presence of heaven, and saying, I'm not condemned. I'm not condemned. I'm not guilty. Sorry, my phone was making a noise there. Just sit with that idea. I'm free from any shame of anything I've ever done. So now, being free of shame, I get to commune with the Spirit of heaven. I get to commune with God. It's really what communion means, is connecting to one another and connecting to heaven. So if you're sitting with the Spirit of heaven today, what would you want to ask God about yourself? Maybe it would be, what is my purpose? Or what do you want me to know today? Maybe there's a why question you want to ask. And so I just want to invite you to ask that question and then just sit quietly and see what reverberates in your spirit. And you can decide for yourself, oh, that may have just come from somewhere in me, or that may have been something from the divine. You get to make that choice yourself. But let's just wait and let's say, I'm not condemned. What will heaven tell me today about me? Yeah, your question is for God, right, Kristen? Sorry, I didn't explain that. Yeah. So you're going to say again over yourself, I'm not condemned, and being free of condemnation, I get to ask God what I want to ask God. And you may hear something in your spirit and you may not. It's not, nothing is doing it right or wrong. We're just exercising and seeing what can happen in our spirit. So I am not condemned. Now just ask your question of God and see what resonates in your spirit. Yeah. So did you hear anything from heaven? I'm going to ask you to share anything you heard in just a moment in the comments. But first, let's just finish with gratefulness. One of the best ways to combat darkness in your day is to find a space for gratefulness. That's not denial and saying I'm okay when I'm not okay, but just finding a space for gratefulness in your heart. And so just think about, what are you grateful for in your life today? And just let that resonate from your spirit into heaven. I am grateful for. Share that with heaven. Okay. Yeah. So we bless heaven and we come back to ourselves from our safe place with heaven, feeling grateful and relaxed and uncondemned. So I'd love for you to share what you heard from heaven. Take me to the playa says, thank you, I needed this. Just another Jamie says, just peaceful sounds, well needed though. Kristen says, anything done for love of creation is right. I hear this. Evolve RMN says, I want to know about the universe. Hi, Indiana. Oh, did that say? Sorry, these things sort of pop around. Anna on YouTube says, I understood that my indecisiveness stems from the belief that I am weak, but I am not. Oh, that's awesome, Anna. I agree. You are not weak. That is a lie that was told to you somewhere along the line, and it's stuck to your spirit, and you're going to start to learn and work that loose. No, I'm not weak. And as it starts to become loose, you'll start to build evidence in your life to show you that you're not weak. Thank you for sharing that, Anna. Evolver says, I was reassured about my family. That's good. Cat Lover says, God's not disappointed that I left the Lutheran church. He walks with me now. Heart Gardening says, will I be okay? And heard you are okay now. Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. Sometimes I wonder if Pastor Paul is Jesus reincarnated. No, I am not. I absolutely am not. You're welcome, Anna. Thank you. Thankful that heaven can handle my big questions. That's right. Just Kate. God is not afraid of us saying, excuse my language, what the fuck? What the hell, God? What's going on today? Those are good questions to ask. Truly, the kingdom is within. Thank you guys for all the likes. Those help build the page and expand my message, and I really appreciate it. It's wonderful. Kristen says, there's the pastor I know. Yeah, I have to throw in a little F-bomb every once in a while. So Doggo65 says, I've been angry at God for months. This is the first I felt a little better about my faith. That touches my heart, Doggo. Thank you. What have you been angry about? Do you know that it's okay to be angry at God? It is okay. We see it in the Bible all the time. I used to be told, like, yo, you don't shake your fist at God. And then I read the Psalms and I saw the psalmist shaking their fist at God all the time, letting that anger out, letting that confusion out, saying, WTF, God. And yeah, I see that loving Jesus. Forgiving God can be an important moment in the process, but God is also big enough and unoffendable enough that he understands when we're like, I got to be mad at you for a while, God. Kristen says, Paul, you shine the love of Christ in the boldness he would. So proud to be a part of this journey. I'm proud to know you, Kristen. Thank you for that. AMQ Spring says, Jesus walked with sinners, not saints, so he could save those furthest from him. Doggo says, I'm gay and I really feel unloved. I've been told that God hates me a lot. No, God does not hate you. The Bible has the allegory of creation, and it says over and over again, God created this and said it is good. God created this and said it is good. God created this and says it is good. And God created you, Doggo, and said you are good. And it's just human beings that have told you that you're not. Human beings who believe they're connected to the true spirit of heaven, but they're not. They're believing a man-made religion that is a shortfall of who God really is. God bless you. You kind of look like Norm Macdonald. Hope your day is good. Thank you, this boy. Kristen says to Doggo, please use a theology of an angry God. Oh, people use a theology of an angry God to justify their hate. It is an incorrect theology. Official Brown Bear Clan says, nah, it's all BS. Yeah. I think that's denying a whole bunch of stuff, and you could be right. But to be that definite about it is a religious belief system. To be definitive enough to say there is no God or there are no gods. So here, that's a faith statement. That's a religious statement. You have adopted the other extreme of the side of the coin rather than living in the tension of, it seems like there's something bigger than us. There's something divine around us that it's hard to explain. And yes, some people explain it in a box of a Christian God or a Judeo-Christian God. And I don't think that's right either. I think God is bigger than our definition. Do you prescribe to any Catholic beliefs? I have a group of people that gets together online every Sunday morning and takes communion, and some could say that's a Catholic belief. Kristen says, BS that creates more unifying love between people is great BS. Yeah, I often say that to my atheist friends. If I believe in a God that draws me to my best self and gives me a reason to want to live sacrificially for one another, then that's a good thing. Religions are for control of the masses and a crutch for the weak-minded. Again, that's a really definitive faith. That's a religious statement you're making. You're throwing a huge blanket over a ton of people, and many of which that statement is not true. It's the same as somebody saying of you, well, you believe that because you were hurt by religion, and so you've just rejected it out of your hurt. And that would also not be a fair statement of all atheists or non-believers. Nice rosary. Well, I don't think it's a rosary. It was given to me by a really good friend of mine. And it's probably more of I don't know if it's Buddhist. They're just prayer beads. So it's not an actual rosary, but it's just what I use to kind of focus my prayers in. Any tips for rekindling my faith and connection to God? Well, it's this. It's finding a way to see God differently than the condemning God we've been taught from many Christian religions or Muslim religions or any religion that taught us connection to heaven is by living in a belief system and following a set of rules. I think when we get released from that, we start to say, okay, how do I connect my spirit to something divine? And it starts to become a possibility in our life. So that would be my connection. And once we start to see who we are. No fun fizzer, I wasn't saying that it's out of hurt. I'm saying that would be the same statement I could make of you that you're making about us. So I see the death, suffering, and manipulation by religions too. That doesn't mean we have to throw out all religions. That's a reactionary response rather than being willing to live in the tension of life, that there are people that have a spiritual belief system that drives them to their better self and to encourage others. And you're going to the simple answer of let's just reject it all. And again, that's just the other side of the religious coin of you have to join my religion or else. And the other side of that coin is let's reject all religion. That's being afraid to live in the tension of the world. It's actually a fear response and a reactionary response in my book. And that's how I look at it. And you get to feel however you want. The weak-minded are targeted by many, including evil. And I think it's a little bit unfair to say only weak-minded follow religion. I know a lot of really brilliant people who follow it. Again, these are just scapegoating easy answers. Oh, stupid people get controlled and manipulated by religion. Now, people do get controlled and manipulated by religion. But to say, because what you're saying is weak-minded over there, I'm not weak-minded. And again, it's a really simple, self-righteous statement. And I don't mean to take shots at you. I'm just trying to say to everybody, like, let's live in the tension of there are spaces where we can live that aren't so definitive of me being right, everybody else being wrong. And I say that to religious people and non-religious people. Olivia says, I don't know why, but I felt so calm when I connected to your live. Well, I think there's an atmosphere of peace from connecting our spirits together that we get to grab onto that's bigger than ourselves. It's what spiritual faith community is all about, is I am connected to others and therefore I have a power and a strength and a peace that's beyond what I can attain by myself. Kristen says, I see many Buddhists who create a more loving environment. Religion depends on the individuals. Vince sends a heart. Thanks, Vince, on YouTube. Religion depends on individuals. Every individual is required to self-reflect. Right guy throws in tax the churches. That's an easy statement of definition. Churches provide many charities across the world. Yeah, I wish they did it better. But yes, that's true. And I think I've been talking to my pastor friends for years and saying, hey, if we keep violating our 501c3 and doing our political stances, we should lose our non-tax status. But just coming on alive and yelling tax the churches doesn't solve anything. It creates no opportunity for thought or goodwill. And so social media has put us in a lot of spaces where people just shout platitudes and think they're doing something interesting and important. And it changes nothing for nobody. It just makes you look a little bit immature. Felicita says, I don't go to church, but believe in God and pray in my private room. Thanks. And hopefully what I'm doing here is providing a space for spirituality in community for people that have lost their community. On YouTube, I'll sort of share what this looks like, and I'll tell you guys on YouTube. I call it the unconventional spiritual life. And it's kind of what I do throughout the week. And so Wednesday morning, we do this spiritual mindfulness. Thursday, I release a podcast. Saturday is sort of my weekly sermon, my Bible talk, which I release on YouTube. Sunday is our Sunday community that meets together online. And then we come back around the next week on Tuesdays. I'm going to start doing, I call Unconventional Talk. And it's going to be a discussion group over what we have done in Bible talk and in Sunday community and spiritual mindfulness, and just get to dialogue about it. So on YouTube, you can see that schedule. If you're on TikTok, you can go to my bio and click on the link tree in my bio, and it'll show you how to find all this stuff. I have uncovered, I have you covered, says great answer. Thank you, Pastor. You're welcome. Kristen says evangelical missionary work is more toxic than helpful, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, I think often missionary work ended up telling people of the world that you need to become white Europeans for God to approve of you. And I think it did great damage in the world. And that doesn't mean there wasn't anything good that came out of it. That's the tension we live in. But overall, I would say the net effect of missionaries was quite harmful to the world, and it's something the church needs to repent of. And we're still trying to do it. We're still talking this 2040 window. We have to Christianize these parts of the world. And once we do, then Jesus will come back. And it's just bad theology. All right, guys, what other questions, thoughts do you have that you want me to answer before we go? So yeah, that's the unconventional spiritual life that I'm trying to provide space for spiritual walk in community through what I do. And there are other people doing amazing stuff out there too that you can follow that. But I want to give people a chance to unconventionally walk out their spiritual life and do it in community, so you're not out there on your own, so you have something bigger than yourself to tap into. Okay, other thoughts, questions? I'm going to blow out my candle here. I always love to do that. And this is my kind of goofy thing here. YouTube, let me switch your shot here. Just seeing that smoke go up just makes me feel like it's a picture of my thoughts and my heart, my prayers going up to heaven. I love that symbolism. Do you think Antichrist can become Christ? You'd have to define what an Antichrist is to you. Kristen says smoke is cleansing. I think anybody can follow the life modeled by Jesus, and that in the text of the Bible, it tells us that Jesus said, I do great things and you're going to do greater things than me. I always hear people say all the time, like, well, you're not Christ. Nobody can do what Christ did. I'm like, well, he said we were going to do greater things than him. So either you believe the Bible or you don't. Here instead of Christ. I'm still not totally sure what that means. Isaiah's Piba. I'm not sure what your moniker is there. Christ means anointed person of God. Many Christ, one Jesus. Being Christ-like means unifying. So Antichrist would be divisive, correct? Yeah, I believe Antichrist is not a person. Antichrist is a mindset, a spirit. It's a groupthink. So like this partisan right-wing religion that we follow, that is an Antichrist spirit. It is the opposite of who Christ is. The right-wing church, I believe, is the apostate church of today that absolutely parallels the church that Jesus was so angry about in the Gospels. And it's funny. It's just amazing to me that the church heritage I grew up with, we are convinced we're so right and the only ones right. And I just want to say, read your own Bible and see that you're exactly what you despise in the Bible. Self-righteous, having a set of rules, wanting to impose those rules not only spiritually on people, but civically, and believing that if you can impose your rules through civil law in the country, that the country will be made great again. And that's exactly what the religious people of the day of Jesus believed. If we can just get Jews and Judaism back in charge of Israel, Israel will be great again. Israel will once again become the greatest country in the world, and the world will be set right. God's plan will exist again on earth when that happens. And don't we have a set of church people today who believe that exact same thing? But the beautiful thing is, more and more, I think it's showing the rest of us like, ooh, I don't want to be that. And I don't want to totally reject to go to the other side of the coin like some of our commenters have here. So what does real 21st century spirituality and pursuit of the heart of Christ and the Spirit of God look like? I find it funny when evangelical pastors tell us to filter sinfulness. The Bible is full of it. Yes, it is. Yeah, there were some really, I have a series that I did on TikTok over Easter week this year. It's funny that I ended up doing this over Easter week, but it was called Good Sex Stories from the Bible. And I just love that the Bible tells really, really messy stories. And it doesn't, they're R-rated for sure. It doesn't temper them, but it doesn't condemn people for struggling to find value, safety, and purpose in life. Safety, value, and purpose in life. Religion is a way to suppress people. Definitely used by some. I think by some it's an attempt to get to God. I think that's what most religion is we want to have a God that we can manipulate. I mean, I think it's really what happened at Sinai with the Israelites. They're like, God was like, you guys are going to be my priest and share my love to the whole world. Isn't this going to be amazing? And the Israelites said, nah, we want a God like theirs. See, their God, they sacrifice their children to their God, and he helps them to win wars, and he helps their plants to grow. We want that God. How do we have a God like that? And the true Spirit of heaven said, ooh, bad idea, but let me show you how bad. Here's 600 rules you have to follow. And now you're under that covenant of those 600 rules until that law gets fulfilled. And so I think religion is the same thing today. I want to be able to prove myself worthy to manipulate God for my being. And it's actually really when people say, I'll pray for you, what they're saying is I'm going to manipulate the divine of heaven to come down and manipulate you into my belief system. It's a version of witchcraft. I'm going to say this incantation and pray that God will manipulate your mind to be like me. And so when people say, I'll be praying for your soul, I say, please don't. I'm watching from the Philippines. How cool. Nick says, hello, Pastor Paul. Hi, Nick. How do you untangle the idea of God hating you? Where could I begin? I just think this is it. Doggo, is you just have to start listening to creators on TikTok who are telling you a different story. People like Rev Carla, really great people like that. And let it start to go to your heart. So where could I begin? Like, go to the Gospels and every verse that says you're not condemned, that God loves you, that God's connecting to you, highlight that and say, that's me. I get to connect to heaven. There's a great book by Rob Bell called Love Wins. I would recommend that maybe for you. DM me and we can kind of chat about it, but just let it go into your heart. There's this pastor on TikTok with this group of people who know God, and they're telling me that God says I'm good. Hello, you are an experienced, educated man. I won't insult you by yelling. Okay, good. Kristen says, and by the way, King David is exalted in evangelical churches. Lord, LOL. Vince says, I can be, but it can also unite them for good too. Yeah, religion, right? How would you define the proof you need, says Kristen is asking Robotron. I need proof of God's existence. No idols, big fact. So beautiful how you discuss the Bible. My mom's husband interprets it to his views. Yes, they do. Hi, Colorado. Thank you for seeing that. You're the first I've heard to understand that. Love the key on your wall. Yeah, that's a really important symbol for me. Thank you. But so Kristen is saying to Robotron, you addressed us. If you believe God would know, ask him to show you. Doggo says, I'll try. Thank you. Yeah, send me a DM if you like, Doggo, and we'll work on that. Robotron, it's a great question. And I've wanted my whole life for God to come and step into my room and tell me that there's an existence of the divine. And it hasn't happened yet. But I've seen enough things that shows me there's something outside my physical realm that exists. And I think life is a search for what that is. And I think it's very human to say, prove it to me or I'm not going to believe it. And I honestly think you're never going to be able to prove there is a God, and you're never going to be able to prove there's not. There will only be the absence of proof of a God, and you can choose to take that as proof, but I don't think science would take that as proof. And so then what you have to do is live in this tension of, okay, I think there's something divine out there, and I'm not going to settle for some easy explanation like evangelical Christianity that divides me from other people. Robotron, I'm going to say, like, so why believe with no proof is a great question. So I can ask the converse, so why not believe with no proof that God doesn't exist? To me, it's the same question. So if I can't prove God exists and I can't prove God doesn't exist, but I have some sense that there's something, then I want to prove it. It is the same, Robotron. It is the same. They are the same. It is the same belief system on either side of the coin. So I choose to live in the tension that I'm certain there's something beyond the physical realm of this world. And I'm never going to be able to prove that it is the Christian version of God. So I'm going to live in the tension of pursuing what it is in my life. And I have seen enough unexplainable things to know there's something more than just what I cognitively can know. Default is not exist until proven otherwise. I wouldn't agree with that. I think that's a definition that you're making, but you get to do that. You're absolutely right. Unexplained does not mean God. It means there's something. That's what I said. So be careful to read into my words, and you're using some filter of religion, which I understand. So I said there is something. Unexplained does say there's something more than what I see. And so I choose to live in the tension, and I understand some of it comes from my life heritage. I live in the tension of, okay, there's something out there and I'm going to pursue what it is. I refuse to give in to the very human response of can't be proven, so I reject it outright. That's a very human, and for some, a very religious belief of, well, since I can't prove it, I'm going to say there's nothing. And that's also a faith religious statement. Sorry, I've got to get a tissue here. So I just said I live in I don't know. I don't know how many other ways I can say it, Robotron. I don't know. I know there's something, and I'm searching it out. I don't know any other way to say it than that. I don't know if you really, really have to win an argument with me. You win. That's great. JJ Talk says, you're speaking my language, Pastor. Robotron, how do you know? I'm going to say it again, Robotron. I don't know. And I don't need to know. I just am in the search. Yeah, thanks, Robotron. And good luck with kind of being bitter about it. I just say it's okay. It's okay for us to disagree on it, and you don't have to be angry about it. And it may be, if there is some, and I may be reading that into your text but if there's some angry and bitterness behind it, then some of that belief you're grabbing onto may be from some disappointment with religion or people. Yeah. Okay, so you're not bitter, so then why do you have to mock and denigrate my position? There's some anger behind it. There's something of dismissiveness behind it, so I'll let you define why. Cassidy says, thanks for what you do. Honest question, along your search, what if you find that a God doesn't exist? Well, I would say this. I've already gotten to a place where I'm certain the God that I knew in my upbringing doesn't exist as I defined God, and I've settled into that place. So I think what that shows me is my heart is malleable and willing to learn. My mind is willing to be renewed. Do you believe that whatever else there is beyond this physical works cares about each one of us? I think there is something of a spirit of goodness that we can connect to outside ourselves that will drive us to be our better selves. And maybe there's something bigger than us that can drive us to not be our better selves. But yeah, I think there is a selflessness that can come in connecting with something greater. Kristen says, I'm personally at peace with finding my beliefs are incorrect if it left a loving legacy. That's good. Yeah, when people come on and have to argue that there is no God and there is no other correct answer than that, particularly when I'm saying I'm living in the tension of it all, it just shows there is a need to reject religion and spirituality out of something that happened. And so I'm saying, if you're really, really happy with where you are, then why do you need to win me over to your space? I'm having visions of the end times. Are you as well? No, I'm not. I'm very, very much not having visions of the end times. End times in the Bible were the end of that era of religion. They weren't talking about the end of the world. They were talking about the end of that age, and that has already occurred. Now, do I think we're coming to the end of an era of a religious belief system in the world? Yeah. And I think it's good. But it's probably going to be a little messy. Religions tend to go down trying to take something with it. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to get going now with my day. So I love you for joining me today. Thanks for hanging out. Bless you guys. Again, remember, this is a part of what I do through the week to help people walk an unconventional spiritual life in community together. So we do spiritual mindfulness. I release a podcast on Thursday. I have my Bible talk on Saturday, YouTube, which is released. And on Sunday, we do Sunday community. And then on Tuesdays, we're going to start doing unconventional talk, which will be a discussion group around some of the things I've shared for the week. So, all right, guys, love you. Yeah, I'll remember what is good. Thank you guys for all the likes, for shares, for helping my content go out and touch people. All right. Love you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye. And YouTube, we'll see you guys. Love you guys.